Greetings, everyone. Today, I'd like us to talk about literature review. I'm going to take you through on what is literature review, the types of literature review, why conduct a literature review, and writing the literature review. So let me start by therefore defining or giving a definition of what a literature review is all about. First and foremost, it's important to know that when you conduct research, the literature is the most important part of research. There is no research without a literature review. Therefore, it's important as a researcher to keep that in mind, that at some point or in your journey of research, you're supposed to write a literature review, right? So, what is a literature review? This is a methodological review of past research, which is crucial for any academic research. So in other words, it's important to know past researches when conducting research. And for you to access that, you need to read and thus develop a literature review. You need to uncover what is already known in the body of knowledge prior to initiating any research study should not be underestimated. It's important that you know what body of knowledge exists around your topic before you initiate any research study, and therefore this should not be taken for granted. You have to read so that you understand what is already out there. By reading widely on the topic, you become familiar with the key concepts and studies that have been previously published. That's very important. So, in other words, every piece of research has to relate to researches which has come before it. Why is this important? It's important because a lack of proper literature review hinders theoretical and conceptual progress. So for you to theorize, for you to develop a conceptual framework, you need to firstly write a proper literature review. You need to know what is already out there or what is already known around your phenomenon before you engage in a particular journey of researching. Otherwise, a lack of a proper literature review, a lack of reading and relating your current research to previous researches will hinder theoretical and conceptual progress or conceptual development. It would not be feasible for you as a researcher to develop a theory, to theorize around a phenomenon if you did not read widely and develop a literature review. Worth noting is that novice researchers tend to approach the literature review as nothing more than a collection of summaries of papers or an elaborated, annotated bibliography of multiple research manuscripts. In other words, this means oftentimes novice researchers will go to Google or whatever research engine out there and simply collect summaries of papers and putting them out there or writing them as literature reviews. And that is not how literature review is about. It's not about collecting summaries. It is not about simply elaborating on who has written what previously, but rather a literature review is mostly about engaging with what you are reading, understanding what you are reading, applying what you are reading, synthesizing and interpreting what these previous authors have written. So that is what a literature review is about. Engaging with ideas in the literature to justify a particular approach to the topic, selecting methods and demonstrating that this research contributes something new. So in other words, you are not merely collecting the summaries, building up or developing an annotated bibliography, but rather you are engaging with researches or ideas to justify the importance of your topic, to justify why you are selecting particular methods of doing your research, so that you demonstrate to the readers or the community in the field you are writing on that this is worth this topic is worth pursuing, and that it is contributing something new. Remember, you are not repeating what is already out there. When you write a literature review, you are reading in order to identify a gap, to say, this is what my study is contributing. So, therefore, a quality literature review would then mean the breadth and the depth, the rigor, the consistency, clarity, brevity, and effective analysis and synthesis, right? In other words, you will read what authors are providing, you will then reflect on what they are reading, and you try and understand and interpret what they are reading. It's about the rigor, engaging, synthesizing, and knowing what the phenomenon is all about in the most clear and consistent way you can ever do when writing a literature review. Also, making sure that you are synthesizing what you are reading. You are combining the reading, you are integrating, you are rearranging what is already out there, so that you demonstrate the understanding of your phenomena. Right. So when doing a literature review, explain how your piece of research builds on another, right? Here you are doing a study on transformation in higher education. There are studies on transformation in higher education, but tell us then how your research is building on the previous studies on transformation in higher education. So, therefore, an effective literature review creates a firm foundation for advancing knowledge. In your engagement with, in your justification of your particular approach to the topic, analyzing, demonstrating understanding and brevity, and writing it clearly. The idea is for you to create a firm foundation for advancing knowledge. You're engaging in the literature review because you want to build a firm foundation into what you are proposing to do, so that you can facilitate theory development and close areas where a plethora of research exists, and uncover areas where research is needed. So the purpose of literature review is therefore then to develop theory, to close gaps or areas where a plethora or a number of research has been conducted, in order to uncover areas where research is needed. transformation in education or in higher education has been conducted, but what is it that you want your research to uncover as a new phenomenon in the field, right? So what are the types of research out there? You'll have research studies or literature studies that review a dominant theory or model in a particular domain, a review of a particular debate, or a review of one another's work, or a review of empirical studies on a particular topic and specifically what the latest situation is, or a review of case studies of cases of phenomena. In other words, when conducting a literature review, depending on the type of study, these are the reviews you will engage with. You either engage, if your study is on building theories or on a particular theory, you will pursue studies on theories and models. If you want, your study is on a particular debate, for instance, maybe there's a debate on student violence in higher education. You would want to review literature on violence and violence in higher education. So you are reviewing literature on a particular debate. And in this case, the debate would be violence in higher ed, or student violence in higher education as an example. Or you just want to engage with authors' work or a number of authors engaging in a particular debate as well. Or you just want to review studies, or your study is on empirical studies on a particular topic. Maybe it's a topic on teaching and learning in high schools as an example. So you will review studies on teaching and learning in high schools and perhaps in other institutions in education. Or a review of cases of phenomena. Maybe there are cases that you want to review. Maybe sexual harassment in primary schools. There are cases related to sexual harassment in high schools, and you want to do a study and explore those cases because they are unique in that particular context. So you pursue a study related to maybe cases related to sexual harassment or cases in general. Why conduct a research, conduct a literature review? You want to understand the existing body of knowledge, including where excess research exists, in other words, what is already known, and where new research is needed, meaning what is needed to be known. I'll explain this. You will conduct a research so that you can provide a solid theoretical foundation for the proposed study related to what is already known. There are studies already known in research or in the field you are researching, and you want to then develop a theory around this phenomenon. Hence, you are reading on that phenomenon, or you read on that phenomenon. Another reason why we conduct literature review and research is to substantiate the presence of the research problem related to what is needed to be known. There's a research problem and you want to expand the debate, so you read around that particular phenomenon or problem to say, this is what is already known around the phenomenon of teaching and learning in high schools, of teaching and learning of mathematics or whatever concept that you want to pursue. And this is what is not known, maybe learners' understanding or learners' poor performance in mathematics concepts. Here is the literature which talks about the teaching of maths or the teaching of Euclidean geometry, but here is what is not known about the teaching of Euclidean geometry. It's the poor performance. So you are then engaging in what is needed to be known. in that sense. You also want to justify why the proposed study is one that contributes something new to the field. Reading and reading and reading or conducting research will give you grounds to justify why the proposed study is needed and is contributing something new to the field. You will read articles and articles and articles in pursuit of your phenomenon, but then that will then give you enough justification to say this is what is not known in the field regarding this particular phenomenon. Again, you conduct a literature review because you want to frame or to use valid research methodologies and approaches, and to also design research questions appropriate for the proposed study. So reading the literature or exposing yourself to reading will help you to choose valid research methodologies, whether qualitative or quantitative, approaches also to your study, and also what research questions you will come up with later on. Therefore, from these definitions, we can conclude that an effective literature review includes the following characteristics: analysis and synthesizes quality literature, meaning that when you do the literature review is about demonstrating and illustrating and solving or rather, relating and classifying literature. It's also about being able to separate and connect relevant studies or relevant literature for your study. It provides a firm foundation to a research topic, provides a firm foundation to the selection of research methodology, and also demonstrate that the proposed research contributes something new to the overall body of knowledge or advances the researcher's knowledge base. So these are the characteristics of an effective literature review. That when you write the literature review, you need to be able to analyze and synthesize quality literature review. It also assists in providing a firm foundation for a research topic, and also it provides a firm foundation for the selection of research methodology, and also it helps you to demonstrate that the proposed research contributes something new, because you would have read a number of studies on your phenomenon, and you coming in with a new topic therefore gives you a space to then justify why your topic is needed, because it is not perhaps accommodated in the current literature. Right, so what then do you do when you develop your literature review? It may follow a sequential kind of format, if I may say, to say you collect the literature, you have to know the literature, comprehend the literature, apply, analyze, synthesize, and evaluate the quality of literature in order to provide a firm foundation to a topic that you are writing. In other words, what do you do when you collect? Obviously, it's visiting different sites and search engines and look for articles. And it's not just looking for articles, it's looking for articles relevant to your phenomenon. And knowing, you have to know the literature. You have to know the literature. Read, meaning you need to know the significance and the importance of the information that you are reporting on, right? You need to be able to know key concepts of your literature. What do you do when you comprehend? So, in the process of developing your literature, it's important to show or demonstrate activities such as the ability to summarize your literature, writing notes on the side, the ability to differentiate what's important and not important, to be able to interpret, and to be able to contrast ideas. When authors write, they may write on the same phenomenon, but find that they are constructing or contrasting views. Then you need to be able to differentiate those and be able to write what is important. And at this level, as a researcher, you need to demonstrate that not only can you repeat what was included in the article, but that you can also know the meaning and the significance of the information being reported. This is the most critical part of literature review, the ability to know the meaning and the significance of the information being reported. You need to be able to apply this particular theory, demonstrate an understanding of relating and classifying, right? So, in other words, in the context of the literature review, application is mostly directed or directly revealed by the ability to analyze where you separate, you make connections, you compare, you select, and you explain key concepts as they relate to your phenomenon. You are able to synthesize, whereby you combine, you integrate, you modify, you rearrange arguments, and you provide, you write generalizations regarding the particular phenomenon. So as you engage with the literature, these are the activities that you need to demonstrate. It's not just collecting and writing. It's a matter of collecting and knowing what you are doing, understanding what you are doing, and applying by showing the activities or demonstrating the activities that I've just shared with you, and eventually being able to evaluate where you now assess the significance of the literature that you are using, deciding, recommending, the ability to select, the ability to judge, the ability to explain, discriminate the most important to the least important facts, and the ability to make conclusions. So at this stage, what you are able to do here, you can clearly distinguish amongst opinions, amongst theories, and amongst empirically established facts. So literature review is therefore not just a mere collection of summaries, as I indicated earlier on, but rather engaging with the key activities that I've just shared with you. So therefore, moreover, the output of the literature review process should demonstrate that the proposed research contributes something new to the overall body of knowledge. So this point keeps coming up, the contribution of something new to the overall body of what is already in existence. So the term body of knowledge refers to the cumulative research-supported knowledge achieved by building on each other's research results. In other words, there are studies out there on the teaching of Euclidean geometry, as an example. So, therefore, what you do when you do a literature review, you are building on the knowledge of teaching mathematics by coming up with new ideas in the field indicated earlier on. So the 3 steps, therefore, may be to guide novice research on the development of a sound and effective literature review, are inputs, where inputs would be collecting, processing, where you familiarize yourself with the literature. You collect, you know it, you apply it, you comprehend, you synthesize, and you evaluate. And providing the output, therefore, provides an overall view of the process proposed. So, having given an explanation and how you develop a literature review, let's now come to writing a literature review. It's important to remember that not everything reported in the literature is of equal rigor, right? So you will find so many readings and articles or authors writing some things that may seem to be related to what you are looking for, but then they're not that important. So that is what they mean. So you need to be careful when you write a literature review that you are not writing on everything and anything that is available, because some of it may not be equally important. So, therefore, it's important to keep in mind that a good literature review is one that is based upon a concept-centric approach rather than chronological or author-centric approach. So it's about pursuing concepts of your phenomenon rather than merely looking for when studies were written or looking for authors that have written around your phenomenon. So when you write a literature review about the teaching of mathematics, it's important to look for what concepts are being explored by different authors rather than focusing on who is writing on the teaching of mathematics, because those people may not necessarily engage with literature that addresses the concepts that you're looking for. So look for concepts rather than chase chronology or authors writing or that write in the field, but rather look for what are the articles addressing the concepts that I'm looking for. If you're looking for concepts that speaks to the teaching of Euclidean geometry, I'll keep on mentioning this example because it's an example I made earlier on. You therefore need to look for, okay, so what are the methodologies for teaching Euclidean geometry? What is the performance of learners in Euclidean geometry in order to adopt and to use an approach referred to as the concept centric. So do not be mesmerized by an author per se, but rather look for key concepts so that you can be able to develop a theory in your field, right? So authors of literature reviews are at risk of producing mind-numbing lists of citations and findings that resemble a phone book. Impressive case, lots of numbers, but not much plot, right? So when you review literature, you need to be mindful of the fact that it is not about the list of citations. It's not about going to Google and just building up or developing a meaningless reference list or citations, right? So rather, because that may lose the plot of what is an intended a goal here. What is it that you want to achieve? So therefore, you need to continue to avoid this. You need to continuously ask yourself whether the literature that you are writing is working or is related to your study. This is very important. The question, how is the work presented in the article I read related to my study? This is very, very important. Sometimes you find a student doing research on the teaching of history. But then when you look at the reference list or citations, you find that some of the citations that are there are articles on business management, and history has got nothing to do with history teaching. So therefore, you need to constantly ask yourself, how is the work presented in the article related to my work? This is the most important questions, so that you avoid producing mind-numbing lists of citations and and findings that are referred to here as resembling a phone book, right? So you need to be very, very careful on this one when writing a literature review. So quality literature stimulates additional research studies, thus providing validation of the original theory proposed. So when you develop a good quality literature review, you are likely to stimulate additional research studies. So that this gives leeway to the validation of original theory proposed. So when you have developed or written a good quality literature review, researchers, it's easy, or it becomes easy to validate the new theory proposed, to say, oh, these were the studies that were written before, and this is what they said, and therefore this is the new theory, and therefore we can call this a valid theory, or valid and original theory, because we know what this author wrote about, we know what the field looks like, and therefore this is how we're theorizing, or we are going to theorize our new theory. At the very least, the researcher must demonstrate that he or she has read the article and extracted meaningful information from it. I've explained this, that it's important to know your literature, to know the meaning and the significance of the information being reported. So a demonstration of a meaningful understanding by interpreting, by synthesizing, by concluding, by judging the quality of the article or the literature, then we can say the researcher is able to demonstrate a meaningful understanding of this particular question. So answering this question allows researchers to tie the literature into their own studies. Once an understanding is demonstrated, it's easy for researchers to tie or to link the literature they are reading to their own studies. So during your literature review, you should utilize sources that substantiate the presence of the problem under investigation. This is very important. You are supposed to use resources that expand on the presence of the problem under investigation. What does literature say about the problem or about the phenomenon you are investigating, right? So doing this will enable you to provide a solid argument for the need for their study, or for the study, as well as spot where literature fits into their own proposed study. Moreover, the use of literature provides the grounds for legitimizing the research questions proposed in the study, as well as validate the approach proposed by the study. That will be all on the literature review, and good luck writing it.